video, what I want to show is how to solve an issue that comes up often if the panels are printed 54-inch wide or shorter, is that it doesn't quite cover the rocker panel. So again, you see how the graphics just reach to the bottom of the door, but don't get any farther than that. So if no extra panels are printed, and again, what I want to show now is a good solution to avoid actually having to print extra panels for this. So again, this will limit production time and also save a little bit on material and ink. So what I'm doing here is just taking a standard piece of black matte film. This black matte film was prepped, so the top piece that we're putting on, that top edge, is perfectly straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up left to right, and again, having two installers here just makes a big difference, where we're setting up about an inch and a half just above the line with the break between the door and or about an inch, I would say, between where the door hits the rocker panel here. Why we're doing this, as you'll see in a second, is we're going to open the doors and let the material kind of slide under, so you could actually wrap a little farther underneath the doors there, because normally you have to cut on the side of the door with full print and then just tuck it under, let's say about a half a centimeter or a quarter of an inch. But in this case, we can actually take the material farther. So we squeegeed it on, kind of created a permanent hinge right there at the top. But now look how easily we can relax the film and get a little farther under, so get really good coverage there. And what I like about this too is it helps with long-term durability. Sometimes when those panels come up a little short or get about a quarter inch under the edge there, especially on vans, sometimes when people are getting in and out of the car, they can pick up an edge. So by wrapping farther under there, it just helps to create long-term durability, and that's all about prep. So again, no need to cut inside there, which is great, but again, just took it a little farther, and that just involved a little opening the door there and a little prep work. Here we're cutting it flush to the bottom. So notice I just made a good clean cut, didn't cut directly on the body, just letting the blade be parallel, but here with black matte, it really just frames the car, looks like factory molding, super clean and tight. No need to wrap farther because it's full print. Just make sure you get total visual coverage of the paint. But again, that's a very good solution for the rocker panel. So I always have black matte in my vehicle in case I get in situations like this. So just a nice long panel to a cutting table, prepped it up, slapped it on. And again, when I say slapped it on, it was just nice and easy. Two people, just relax it on, nice long piece, nothing to register. Just put it on just like that. But if you want to continue the graphics, notice that throughout this video series, I'm saving all the scraps with the backing paper on. As I'm doing the side, before I get to this bottom piece here, see how it just barely covers the door, I'm going to cut the piece across, and again, you can be super precise and cut this with the backing paper on, but now I'm just going to finish the bottom portion of the door here and kind of cut along the print. So I'm going to hide this section that comes up a little short within the print. So I take a scrap of red beforehand, and again with the backing paper on, is again, notice that there's lots of different reds in this image. So again, if I put a random piece of red here with different images, it's going to play within the print. So obviously just get a piece that matches this section here. Again, you want to just mix and match. I made a straight line on this piece before. So the piece that I'm putting on, I'm putting under first. And why is because when the piece comes down over the top, the overlap will face down. A, for durability, and B, for visual, you want to have the overlap facing away from where the viewer is going to see it. So now I set it up here, set up all the edges, and cut everything off as normal. On this driver's side, I'm cutting the wheel wells cold, nice and straight. So here, I'm going to now come down over the top. So it doesn't match exactly? No, but because it's just such a random image, it's going to play. So now, with extra scraps of green, go to the cutting table, and I'm going to mix and match the green. So again, there's two different shades of green that I can play with. I don't have one piece that will cover the entire rocker panel in one, so I'm going to kind of break it up into sections based on color and what I got. So again, saving those scraps for me is a huge deal in terms of fixing panels that come up short. So again, if you throw these away while you're installing without the backing paper on, you don't have this option at the end of the day. So for me, this saves from having to print extra panels, so it saves production department time, saves me money, saves the sign shop money, all sorts of good stuff happens with scraps. So now, to tuck under that section there, now that this material is a little more aggressive, because again, remember I talked about how the initial tack is higher than normal because it was oversaturated with ink. So there I'm putting a little bit of masking tape on to lower the surface energy. And here I'm going to create the transition between one color of green and the other color of green by the break in between the doors. So again, you can mix and match whatever feels right. So again, I want this piece that tucks under to be symmetrical. So look, I got about a ½ inch on either side, or about a centimeter just above the break in the door. So again, this is going to fit in like a puzzle piece under the door. So then I relax the material just to the bottom, very easy to install. So this piece, because it's so small, I decided to do by myself. For the longer section, that's when I've called Carlos and been like, hey Carlos, give me a second and just help me get this on. This, I don't need to kind of take Carlos out of his flow. Carlos is just doing his thing on the rest of the car. So again, maximizing install time. But before, I want to make sure the overlap faces away from where the car is going. It's not critical, but it's always just a good idea, mainly in terms of dirt building up on that edge, is that I run masking tape again, set it up with my finger, and again, going to come back with this piece. Now this piece has a straight edge there, and I also want to make sure that it transitions there and I don't have to cut on the car, that red piece. So I angle it like 45 degrees away, so then it's going to create a nice overlap and it's going to fit on there like a puzzle piece. So it's going to, I save a step from cutting directly on the car or running knifeless tape. I do it beforehand. Then I set the piece up, and again I want this to be symmetrical so it slides under the door perfectly at the right distance and right height. So it saves again a cut from me having to cut directly on the body or inside the car. It's just going to slide in there, I squeegee, done. Same thing at the bottom here. I'm not going to wrap any farther than I need to. My blade is parallel to the edge. I pull away with my free hand as I cut, and I get a perfectly straight line that I squeegee and seal tight. There's no reason to wrap any farther than that for full print film. Absolutely not. So again, with the masking tape, I pull the door away and the material slides off the door. It's easy. If I skip the step of putting that masking tape there, that would have been a dogfight. So again, taking a few seconds to put masking tape saves me a lot of time on this transition. Then I squeegee it in nice and clean and tight. Obviously I've cleaned very well beforehand. Then when I get to this piece, I remove the masking tape, come back with this piece now. This piece, again, I pre-cut so it's straight. So my overlap is about a half inch, but I don't have to go off and trim that afterwards. So again, everything's fitting in. I'm minimizing my cutting directly on the body by having panels that are pre-cut and set up beforehand. And look how easily that just slides under. Again, saving cut there because I cut that straight beforehand on the cutting table. So again, a little prep saves a lot of work on the install portion. As you can see, the different colors there, dark green and light green, but this light green piece that I'm putting on here towards the front matches with the green on the fender. So again, just trying to create a nice good transition there and a good clean straight line. Didn't wrap too far under. Then pull all the material away. Again, just trying to create the cleanest workspace I can. That's really critical for professional installs. Once I'm done, especially with rocker panels have that textured surface. You want to make sure you heat it so you really can form the film into those areas. Again, you don't want it to leave the shop kind of floating above those areas, but heat it nice and good. Sometimes a roller really sets it in there nice and tight. But again, you can see the finished product. The bowl continues down to the bottom and the green continues towards the front fender. And again, I love this. This is all scraps. Is it ideal? I don't know. I think it's ideal because it saves having to reprint an extra piece. The images blend, it has a nice flow to it, it frames the vehicle, and again the bowl keeps on going. Again, does the bowl match exactly? Well, based on all the different shades of red in there, I think it does. So again, saving the day with scraps, and this is how you problem solve rocker panels that come short. Thanks for watching, Justin Pate.